Yeah? Okay. All right. We are here with our friend. Your name is?
Matthew.
Matthew. Matthew is, you came from United States, yeah? Your question was about the spirit. Are we separate from God, or are we connected to God? What is our connection? That was your initial question, yeah?
Essentially, yeah.
And we have agreed in the beginning of the argument, yeah, that if the truth was whatever it is, we have to embrace it and to follow it. That was the agreement, yeah. And I told you earlier, if I prove to you that with your own reasoning that Islam is the right way and the true way to have faith in God and to follow God, you said you're going to be embracing it, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Now let's start with the beginning. I asked you about the existence of God. You told me it's hard to put it into words. Yeah, that's what you mentioned. Now, let me describe to you. Now, according to your standard, now your narratives about the existence of God, you're kind of, you say do you believe in higher power? There is something there. Do you believe in this? You believe there is higher power? You believe something that exists there?
I certainly believe in the possibility of it.
Okay. We will be using what we call it the nullification arguments, which means we'll bring all these possibilities and then we will see, and if these possibilities they make sense, we'll accept it. If they don't make sense, we'll nullify them. Yeah? We exist here. Do you accept that we exist? Do you accept the universe exists?
Yes.
Some people they come there and I don't know. Yeah? Some are even skeptic about the existence of themselves. Yeah? Let's say since we exist and the universe exists. Now the next question is, how did we came into existence? How this universe came into existence? Did this universe came out of nothing? Nothing, and then it just came into out of nothing? Or this universe was there always, infinitely, that was there always? Or this universe, yeah, created itself by itself, yeah? So these are these are what from what I remember. These are the possibilities. Do you have any other possibility that you think about the existence of this universe? Either came out of nothing,
Well,
or created itself by itself, yeah, or it was there always, or it was created by a creator. These four arguments. Do you have any other possibility?
Well, there's always the newer theory that it's all a simulation, but I feel like that's equally hard to prove.
Yeah, my point is these are the ones. These are the possibilities. Do you have any other possibilities in your mind?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, let's start by one by one. The universe came out of nothing. Can nothing produce anything? I'm talking about nothing, the absence of everything, the absence of material, the absence of energy, absence of everything. Can it produce anything?
Can nothing produce something, essentially?
Yeah.
Not that I know.
Definitely not. I mean, nothing, as I mentioned to you, when we describe the nothing, we're talking about the absence of everything. There is nothing there. No energy, no material, nothing. So that's why it's impossible, nothing to produce anything. So that's nullified. This is the first argument. That the universe created itself by itself. Meaning that the universe, it has to pre-exist before existence to create itself. Just like you giving birth to yourself. Does that make sense to you? Are you thinking that you have a deep thinking about it? Do you know what means that to pre-exist before existence?
Yes. Well, how can one know something that seems so impossible?
No, it's not. I agree with that. Right? Jesus said that.
I mean, it doesn't need to have that deep, before existence to pre-exist. When the starting point of your existence to pre-exist, that's impossible, basically. One second, we have a discussion here. If you can move to the other side, yeah.
I have a thought on that, but I can't quite articulate it.
There is no way to articulate it. There is no way to think. Basically, it means you yourself, you have to be there before your existence and then to decide to exist. Do you see the problem? Can you see the problem or you can't see the problem?
Well, decide to exist. No one decides to exist.
Yeah, that's my point. That's why no one decides to exist. That's my main thing. Because there is no one decides to exist.
Except after you do already exist.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاك الله خير. الله يرضى عليك. جزاك الله خير. الله يرضى عليك. جزاك الله خير. كرمك الله. الله يحفظك.
I mean, no one decides to exist after you do already exist.
Yeah, that's
obviously you decide to exist in this moment after you've existed for so many more moments.
Yeah, basically that's impossible. That shows it's impossible to pre-exist for existence.
And so you would have to have always existed.
So then the last argument to be always existence, meaning infinity. Does infinity exist in the real world?
I would argue yes.
Based on what?
Well, the mathematical nature of the
I'm mathematician.
and energy.
Yeah, it's finite. It's finite.
I don't know if I would agree with that. Mostly due to the sort of fractal nature that the universe
It's finite.
has. Not exactly. It's infinity within a finite space.
They describe it, but it's finite. Since there is boundaries for this universe, that's finite.
Boundaries, but it goes infinitely deep.
No, it's finite. The universe is finite.
Have you ever heard of something called the Mandelbrot set?
I'm mathematician. By the way, I am mathematician. Yeah, we are using.
have that.
Yeah. I'm mathematician.
That's something that really
Listen,
interests me.
I am mathematician, and I know infinity is a hypothesis. It's an assumption describing something cannot be achieved, for example, with our own mind. Which means, for example, infinity plus one is still infinity. Infinity minus one is still infinity. Infinity plus one minus one is infinity. Meaning, it is a figure. It is something that it has no existence in real numbers. So, since this universe is real, and since the particles and the atoms and everything are real, that means it is finite. And this universe, it's.
I feel like that's a big assumption.
No, because this is how it is. By the way, for example, when you are talking about materials, you're talking about existence materials. You're talking about the beginning of the universe. So it has a beginning. So and as well, all cosmologists as well believe the universe has a beginning. So and that they try to describe the beginning by Big Bang or whatever, you name it. Yeah, even though I'm not necessarily fond of Big Bang theory or whatever. But my point is they agree that there is a starting point. So since there is a starting point, that means it's not infinity, basically. It's finite. Anything that has a starting point is finite. Simple as that.
Anything that has a starting point is
Finite, yeah.
So
I'm talking about real life, real.
Okay. So you think that the universe will end someday?
Yeah, it will end somewhere. It will. Eventually, it will end at a certain point.
How do you think that's going to happen?
Now, how do you think that's going to happen? That's the answer, which the Quran has answered this. But before we get to that point, let's establish this. Yeah. So since infinity, it is an assumption, a hypothesis describing something which is describing a huge number, but still, we're not talking about the universe, real life things, or you could say that means it's a finite. So that's why that goes as well, that when we're talking about the beginning of the universe, that means basically it is finite. So that's why it's impossible to say the universe existed, was there always, and will be there always. Yeah? So then we come to the last conclusion, which is the universe was created by a creator, which is called, basically this creator, the narratives that we have in this universe is not necessarily applies to this creator. Yeah? The narratives that applies to us here is not necessarily applies to this creator, which means, again, and that is the God. And that's the definition of, that's what we're talking about God. But let's talk about the higher power before we come to the point of God. Yeah. So this higher power created this universe, and this higher power has certain characteristics. Yeah. All-knowing, knowledgeable to do things. This universe, the way that it is, the way that it's structured, it has to come out of knowledge. It doesn't come out of ignorance. Yeah. Secondly, all-powerful, so powerful to create this this humongous universe, and as well has independent will, has a will to decide to do something, to decide not to do something. And that's, if we accept this, then this is what we're talking about God. We're talking about the divine, the creator of the heavens and the earth. Do you agree?
Could you restate that?
So, the creator of this universe, that's the last option which we have. Then if there is a creator, this higher power has certain characteristics. Should be all powerful to create this universe, should have the power, a possessor of all power, basically, to create this universe. Secondly, has to be all knowing, so intelligent, all knowing, knowing everything, yeah, to do, for example, to create this universe the way that it is. Thirdly, should have independent will, yeah, meaning that will decide to do something without, for example, influence of any other, basically. Will decide to do something, will decide not to do certain thing. And that is the definition of God. All powerful, all knowing. Do you agree? Matthew. Do you agree?
Maybe. And I say maybe because I only think that
Because you don't have many other choices. I understand. By the way, that is here. Let me tell you something here. And actually, and instead of been skeptical about, for example, these things, is actually when you put all of these things, you know, the puzzle. Yeah, the puzzle. There's each piece has its own particular place. When you put it in the particular place, then everything makes sense. Yeah. Now you are in a situation because you are skeptical about different things. It's just like a puzzle which is all over the place. But when you put things in place, then everything will make sense to you. And that's why in Islam we don't believe. Yeah. In Islam we don't believe in blind faith. We believe as well to understand things. We will use our own reasoning. We will use our own.
Both sides.
Yeah.
You're supposed to analyze the language you use.
Yeah, we will use our own analogy, we will use our own reasoning to understand about the purpose of our creation. Now let's establish this. Let's me and you accept there is a divine. And this all-powerful, all-knowing has independent will. Yeah? Since we don't have much other choices. Yeah? The question is, why this divine, why this creator created us? For what purpose? Why? Why are we here? Remember, bear in mind that this creator is all powerful, all knowing, meaning he knows what he has created. When I say he doesn't mean he has an agenda, I'm talking about he has, just to describe it. So my point is, when he has created us, when he has created us, he has created for a purpose. So he knows why he has created us for. Now the question is to you, Matthew, what do you think the purpose of our creation?
Well, that relies on there being a divine.
What?
That purpose requires there to be a divine, and as you said, that of those four options, that seems to be the logical way to end. But my speculation, I don't know if that's the right word. My question is, why does there need to be a purpose? Why, just because you can't picture the universe coming from nothing, why can't that be true?
Yeah, because again, going to the assumption.
Absence of proof is not proof of absence.
I agree with you to some extent, but here we have already proved that there is no proof for nothing produce anything. Basically, simple as that. So that's why we cannot use that argument. Basically.
Well, yeah, the proof of absence. Absence is proof is not the proof of absence. Just because something hasn't been proved.
I agree. That shows, that tells us, with our own reasoning, yeah, that nothing produces anything, basically. It doesn't produce anything. It's nothingness. You know what it means, nothingness. Nothingness. No energy, which actually, just the hypothesis itself is impossible to imagine. You understand? You may find something, absence of material, but you cannot impose absence of power and absence of energy.
Why?
It doesn't exist in the real life, in our life, in this universe. It doesn't exist. Think about a vacuum of material, but there is impossible to have vacuum of energy of the gravity, whatever the impact, whatever the things, even the gravity of particles around that vacuum, they still have kind of influence. So just only to think about it, it doesn't exist even.
Add something?
Yeah, police, because of recording.
I'm not saying it is a possibility.
Police tell him to leave the park. She came all the way from over there.